My name is Stacey Rogers, and what I'm about to share with you is my near-death experience's testimony of what happened when Jesus showed me the real reason why the chosen ones are struggling financially. On February 3, 2023, at 2:47 a.m., I died for 9 minutes and 12 seconds during what should have been a routine surgery. I've waited nearly 2 years to share this testimony, spending countless hours in prayer to ensure I could convey every detail with perfect clarity. Even now I'm still trembling, overwhelmed by the weight of what was revealed to me. But Jesus made it clear, the time is running out and this message must reach his people, especially those questioning why they face constant financial battles despite their faithfulness. But before we start, please let me know where you're listening from. It will be nice to feel closer, even if we're physically apart. Also, don't forget to like and comment on what you thought about this near-death experience testimony. Let's have a fair and open discussion so we can learn from each other on this channel. Enjoy listening. I was 42 years old when it happened, working as a pediatric nurse at Minneapolis Children's Hospital. I'd been a believer since childhood, raised in a Christian home where we were taught to trust God through all circumstances. But despite my faith, tithing faithfully, and trying to live a godly life, I'd struggled financially for years as a single mother of 2 children. My husband had abandoned us 3 years earlier, leaving me with mounting debts and what felt like endless financial pressure. That night in February started with what doctors called an acute appendicitis. The pain had been building all day during my shift at the hospital, but I'd ignored it, something many nurses are guilty of doing. By the time I finally admitted I needed help, my appendix had ruptured, leading to a severe infection that was spreading through my body. The last thing I remember before the anesthesia was praying, "Lord, please watch over my children." I had no idea that this simple prayer would lead to the most profound experience of my existence. What happened next is something no earthly words can fully capture, but I've been instructed to try. The moment my heart stopped on that operating table, I felt myself literally separating from my physical body. It wasn't painful or frightening. Instead, it felt like being gently lifted from a pool of water. I could see the medical team below working frantically as the monitors screamed their warnings, but I felt only perfect peace. Then came the light. But calling it just light feels almost disrespectful. It was living love, pure truth, more real than anything I'd ever experienced in my physical life. As I was drawn toward it, I became aware of every moment I'd ever lived, every choice I'd ever made, all existing simultaneously in what I can only describe as eternal now. That's when I heard my name spoken with such love that it seemed to reshape my very being. Stacey. I turned, though I wasn't turning with a physical body, and found myself in the presence of Jesus Christ. Let me be clear, this wasn't the Jesus from Sunday school paintings or Hollywood movies. His presence was simultaneously overwhelming and intimately comforting. His eyes held wisdom deeper than the universe itself, yet they looked at me with such personal love that I felt completely known and accepted. The scars on his hands glowed with a light that seemed to tell the story of all redemption in a single moment. "My daughter," he said, "I have brought you here because you, like many of my chosen ones, have been questioning why you face such persistent financial struggles while others seem to prosper effortlessly. Today, you will understand." With these words, the space around us transformed. We were suddenly in what I can only describe as a realm where time and eternity intersected, where spiritual truths became visible realities. Jesus began to reveal truths about financial struggles that would forever change my understanding, and I pray, will change yours too. "Watch," he said, gesturing to what appeared to be living scenes playing out before us. "I will show you why my chosen ones often walk through seasons of financial hardship." What he revealed next was so profound, so comprehensive, that I must share it carefully and completely. Each truth built upon the next, creating a tapestry of divine wisdom that finally answered the questions that had haunted me, and I know haunt many of you, for years. The first scene Jesus showed me was both beautiful and heartbreaking. I saw countless believers, people I somehow knew were faithful followers of Christ, kneeling in prayer, tears streaming down their faces as they begged God for financial breakthrough. Their bills were piled high, their bank accounts nearly empty, their hearts heavy with the weight of constant lack. "Watch closely," Jesus said. "I'm going to show you what's really happening in the spiritual realm when my chosen ones struggle financially." Suddenly, I could see both the physical and spiritual realms simultaneously. Above each struggling believer, I saw what looked like a protective shield of light. Jesus explained, "This shield, which appears to them as financial limitation, is actually my protection." Many of my children pray for prosperity without realizing that premature wealth would destroy their souls. He waved his hand, and I saw alternative timelines, possible futures that would have unfolded if these believers had received the financial abundance they were praying for. The scenes were devastating. I saw humble servants of God transformed by sudden wealth into proud, self-reliant individuals who gradually stopped praying, stopped serving, and eventually walked away from their divine purposes entirely. "Stacey," Jesus said, "some of my most precious children curse the very thing that's protecting them. They don't understand that I'm shielding them from destruction." He showed me how material wealth often becomes an invisible barrier between people and God. I watched as previously faithful believers received financial breakthroughs they weren't spiritually mature enough to handle. Their prayers grew shorter, their church attendance became sporadic, and their hearts gradually hardened as they began trusting in their bank accounts instead of God's provision. "This is why I allow many of my chosen ones to experience seasons of financial struggle," Jesus explained. "It's not punishment, it's protection and preparation." Then Jesus showed me something that made me gasp. He revealed the spiritual warfare happening in the invisible realm. I saw dark entities specifically targeting God's chosen ones with financial attacks. These demons knew exactly who carried God's anointing and purposely created financial obstacles to try to discourage and defeat them. "The enemy knows who carries my greatest assignments," Jesus said. Financial warfare is often a sign of spiritual significance. Many of my children don't realize that their financial struggles are actually confirmation of their calling. Jesus then guided me through scene after scene, each revealing different aspects of why chosen ones experience financial hardship. He showed me how financial struggles strip away false security and force complete dependence on God. I saw how every unpaid bill, every financial crisis, was actually an opportunity for God to prove His faithfulness. "Remember the Israelites in the wilderness?" Jesus asked. "I provided manna daily, not yearly." This wasn't because I couldn't provide enough for a year, it was because I was teaching them daily dependence on me. Many of my children today are in their own wilderness experience, learning the same lesson. Then Jesus showed me something that brought me to my knees, though I wasn't in my physical body. He revealed how financial struggles often protect us from toxic relationships and destructive opportunities that would derail our divine purpose. "Watch this," he said, showing me my own life. I saw business opportunities one had been disappointed to miss out on because I lacked the funds to invest. But then Jesus showed me how those very opportunities would have led me away from my true calling. What I had seen as God's withholding was actually His protection. "Daughter," Jesus said, placing His hand on my shoulder, "your poverty is temporary, but its purpose is eternal. I am not punishing you, I am preparing you. Every bill you struggle to pay, every time you must trust me for provision, you are learning lessons that will serve you in carrying out your kingdom assignment." He then showed me how financial struggles serve as a refiner's fire, burning away impurities in our character that would make us unfit for our divine purpose. I saw how periods of lack expose our true motives, reveal our hidden idols, and test our faithfulness. "Many pray for prosperity," Jesus explained, "but they don't understand that character must precede prosperity. I will not release wealth that would destroy my children's souls." Then Jesus revealed something that shocked me. He showed me the spiritual power of contentment in the midst of lack. I saw how believers who maintained their joy and trust in God during financial hardship were actually accumulating spiritual wealth far more valuable than earthly riches. "Watch this carefully," Jesus said, showing me scenes of believers who were living in material poverty but spiritual abundance. Their prayers were powerful, their faith was unshakable, and their impact on others was profound. "These are my true prosperity pioneers," Jesus explained. "They've learned to be content in all circumstances, and this makes them unstoppable in my kingdom." Jesus then showed me something that made me weep with understanding, the generational aspect of financial struggles. In what felt like an instant, I saw entire family lineages, including my own, stretching back through time. "Look closely," Jesus instructed. "Many of my chosen ones are selected to be generational cycle breakers." Before my eyes, I saw how patterns of poverty, lack, and financial mismanagement had been passed down through generations like dark spiritual inheritances. But then I saw something beautiful, how God strategically positions certain believers to break these cycles. You are not just struggling for yourself, Jesus explained. You are fighting a battle for your children, your grandchildren, and generations to come. Through you, I am establishing new patterns of financial wisdom and spiritual integrity that will bless your descendants. He showed me how my own financial struggles were actually breaking chains that had bound my family for generations. I saw my grandfather's gambling addiction, my father's chronic debt, and then, gloriously, how my battles with finances while maintaining faith were literally rewriting my family's spiritual DNA. This is why the enemy fights so hard against your financial breakthrough, Jesus revealed. He knows that once these generational chains are broken, they're broken forever. Then Jesus showed me something that left me stunned, the divine timing aspect of financial release. I saw how God's timing was perfectly coordinated with multiple lives, not just my own. Like a master chess player, he was orchestrating events and circumstances far beyond my understanding. Many of my children pray for immediate breakthrough, Jesus said, not realizing that premature blessing would abort the greater purpose I have for them. Watch this. He showed me situations where believers had forced their way into financial blessing through desperate means, high-interest loans, questionable business deals, or compromising their integrity. The results were devastating. What looked like answers to prayer became snares that trapped them in cycles of deeper bondage. My timing is perfect, Jesus emphasized. I'm not just considering your immediate needs, I'm considering your ultimate destiny and the destinies of those connected to you. Then Jesus revealed something that made everything click into place. He showed me how financial struggles often protect us from our own premature desires. I saw believers who, in their desperation for breakthrough, would have made choices that would have destroyed their divine assignments if they'd had the means to do so. Stacey, Jesus said, some of my children aren't financially blessed yet because they would build their own kingdoms instead of mine. I'm waiting until their hearts are fully surrendered. He then showed me scenes from my own life where I had prayed desperately for financial breakthrough. With perfect clarity, I saw how receiving those breakthroughs would have led me to miss divine appointments and spiritual growth opportunities that were essential for my calling. Your struggles are not punishment, Jesus emphasized. They are preparation for a level of authority and responsibility that requires spiritual maturity to handle properly. Then Jesus revealed something about spiritual warfare that I had never understood before. He showed me how the enemy specifically targets believers who carry significant kingdom assignments with financial attacks. Watch carefully, he said, revealing scenes in the spiritual realm. I saw demons strategically creating financial obstacles for believers who were on the verge of stepping into powerful ministry opportunities. These weren't random attacks, they were calculated attempts to discourage and derail God's chosen ones. But here's what my children often miss, Jesus explained. These attacks are actually confirmation of their calling. The enemy doesn't waste resources fighting those who pose no threat to his kingdom. Jesus then showed me how financial struggles often serve as a divine filter, revealing who truly loves God for who he is rather than what he can provide. I saw believers being tested to prove the authenticity of their faith. Many claim to love me, Jesus said, but their love is actually for my provision rather than my presence. Financial struggles reveal the true condition of their hearts. Then he showed me something that brought everything into crystal clear focus. How financial limitation often preserves our dependence on God. I saw believers who, after receiving financial breakthroughs, gradually stopped praying, stopped seeking God's guidance, and began trusting in their own wisdom and resources. This is why I often withhold financial abundance, Jesus explained. I would rather have my children dependent on me than be destroyed by self-sufficiency. As these revelations continued, Jesus showed me something that took my breath away, the direct connection between financial struggles and spiritual authority. In the spiritual realm, I could see how each financial battle successfully faced with faith was actually building spiritual muscle and authority. My chosen ones often focus on what they lack, Jesus said, while failing to see what they're gaining. Watch this carefully. He showed me believers who maintained their integrity during financial hardship. In the natural realm, they appeared to be struggling, but in the spiritual realm, I could see them accumulating what looked like glowing deposits of spiritual authority. Every bill paid through faith, every act of generosity despite lack, every moment of choosing contentment in hardship was building something eternal. This is why I allow many of my chosen ones to experience prolonged seasons of financial testing, Jesus explained. They're not just learning about money, they're learning how to carry spiritual authority without being corrupted by it. Then Jesus revealed something that made me understand financial struggles in a completely new way. He showed me how God often uses financial limitation as a tool to keep His chosen ones positioned for their divine purpose. Watch what happens when I release financial abundance too soon, Jesus said, showing me scenes that broke my heart. I saw believers who, upon receiving financial breakthrough, immediately moved away from their assigned territories, abandoned their ministry assignments, or became so focused on maintaining their wealth that they completely missed divine appointments. Sometimes, Jesus explained, what looks like financial bondage is actually my way of keeping my children perfectly positioned for their purpose. He then showed me how financial struggles often create a unique platform for powerful testimony. I saw believers who, after enduring and overcoming seasons of lack, had a level of spiritual authority in teaching others about faith and provision that no amount of theological training could provide. Your struggles aren't just about you, Jesus emphasized. They're about the thousands who will be encouraged and instructed by your testimony of overcoming. Then Jesus revealed something about spiritual maturity that left me in awe. He showed me how financial struggles often serve as a spiritual incubator, creating an environment where deep spiritual roots can develop. Many of my children pray for financial breakthrough, Jesus said, not realizing that their current struggles are actually cultivating the spiritual depth they will need for their future assignments. I watched as He showed me believers who, through their financial struggles, were developing levels of faith, perseverance, and spiritual authority that would have been impossible to achieve in comfort and abundance. This is why I often delay financial breakthroughs, Jesus explained. I'm not withholding from my children, I'm investing in their spiritual development. Then Jesus showed me something about divine protection that made me weep with gratitude. He revealed how financial struggles often serve as a protective boundary, keeping believers from relationships, opportunities, and paths that would ultimately destroy their divine destiny. Look carefully, He said, showing me my own life again. I saw business opportunities one had been heartbroken to miss, relationships that had ended because of my financial limitations, and dreams I had been unable to pursue due to lack of funds. But then Jesus showed me how each of these missed opportunities would have led me away from my true calling. What you saw as my withholding, Jesus said, was actually my protection. I loved you too much to let you be derailed by premature prosperity. Then He revealed something about spiritual warfare that gave me a completely new perspective on financial battles. I saw how the enemy often targets believers' finances because it's one of the most effective ways to distract them from their divine purpose. The enemy knows, Jesus explained, that if he can keep my children focused on survival, they'll have little energy left for their kingdom assignments. But watch what happens when my children learn to thrive spiritually even in lack. He showed me believers who had learned to maintain their joy, peace, and spiritual focus even in the midst of financial pressure. These individuals had a spiritual authority that made demons tremble. This is why I allow some of my chosen ones to experience prolonged financial testing, Jesus said. They're learning to be spiritually effective regardless of their circumstances. Then Jesus revealed something about divine timing that brought everything into perfect clarity. He showed me how God's timing for financial breakthrough is intricately connected to spiritual maturity and divine purpose. Many of my children, Jesus explained, are not ready for the level of influence that financial abundance would bring them. I'm protecting them from premature exposure. I watched as He showed me believers who had received financial breakthroughs at exactly the right time, when their character had been sufficiently developed, their spiritual foundations were solid, and their hearts were truly surrendered to God's purpose. This is why I often delay financial release, Jesus said. I'm waiting for my children to be spiritually mature enough to handle both the blessings and the responsibilities that come with abundance. As my time in this sacred realm continued, Jesus guided me to understand more profound truths about financial struggles among His chosen ones. Come, Jesus said, taking my hand. There are more revelations you must bring back. Jesus showed me how he uses financial limitation to teach true contentment, a lesson Paul described in Philippians 4 verses 12 to 13. I watched believers who had learned to find their joy in Christ rather than circumstances, those who could genuinely say they were content whether in plenty or in want. In your world, Jesus explained, people chase happiness through acquisition, more money, more possessions, more status. But look at what happens when my children learn contentment in me alone. Before my eyes appeared people who radiated a supernatural peace despite empty bank accounts. Their joy wasn't circumstantial, it flowed from a deep communion with Christ that transcended their financial situation. These ones have discovered a secret, Jesus said. When they found contentment in me, they found true freedom, freedom that no amount of money could ever purchase. Then Jesus revealed something about misalignment with his timing that brought clarity to my own struggles. Many of my children, he said, are not experiencing financial breakthrough because they're not yet in sync with my divine timetable. Watch this. I saw believers who were frantically pushing doors open, networking desperately, and manipulating circumstances to create financial opportunities, all while God was orchestrating something far more beautiful that required patience. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11 tells you I make everything beautiful in its time, Jesus reminded me. Some of my children are broke not because I'm withholding from them, but because they're running ahead of my perfect timing. He showed me how God often works behind the scenes, aligning circumstances, people, and opportunities that will converge at exactly the right moment, not a second too soon or too late. The waiting isn't punishment, Jesus emphasized. It's preparation for a blessing that will arrive at precisely the right time. Jesus then directed my attention to another critical truth, how financial struggles often reveal previous mismanagement of God's resources. Some of my children, he said, are experiencing lack because they haven't learned to properly steward what I've already given them. I watched scenes of believers who had received financial blessings in the past but had squandered them through impulsive spending, failure to save, or ignoring divine guidance about giving and investing. Luke 16 verse 10 contains profound wisdom, Jesus said. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Some of my children are in financial trouble because I'm teaching them stewardship with small amounts before I can entrust them with greater abundance. I saw how God uses these seasons to reset financial habits, transform spending patterns, and develop wisdom that will be crucial for handling future blessings. Then Jesus revealed something about the purpose of the kingdom that made everything click into place. He showed me believers whose divine assignments temporarily required seasons of material poverty. Watch this carefully, Jesus instructed, showing me men and women called to ministries, missions, or community work that didn't generate immediate financial return. These chosen ones often question why they struggle while pursuing my will, Jesus explained. They don't realize that their purpose requires this temporary season of limitation, not as punishment, but as preparation for a greater work. I saw how these seasons of financial constraint were forcing these believers to develop supernatural faith, creativity, and resilience that would become essential for their kingdom assignments. Their poverty is not permanent, Jesus assured me. It's purposeful preparation for a calling that requires spiritual maturity that can only be forged in the fires of testing. Then Jesus showed me the ultimate truth about financial struggles, how they serve as a crucible for spiritual refinement. 1 Peter 1 verses 6 to 7 speaks of trials that refine faith more precious than gold, Jesus said. Financial struggles often serve as that refining fire. Before my eyes, I saw believers enduring financial hardship with grace and trust. In the spiritual realm, I could see how each financial challenge was burning away impurities, pride, self-reliance, materialism, and worldly ambition, leaving behind a purified faith of immeasurable value. This refinement isn't punishment, Jesus emphasized. It's preparation for an eternal weight of glory that far surpasses any temporary financial blessing I could give. As our time together neared its end, Jesus placed his hands on my shoulders. Stacey, he said, you must return and share these truths. My children are suffering unnecessarily because they don't understand the purpose in their financial struggles. I felt tears streaming down my spiritual face. Lord, I whispered, will I remember everything clearly enough? Jesus smiled. I will help you recall every detail at the precise moment you need it. Tell my people that their financial struggles aren't punishment, they're protection, preparation, and purification for purposes greater than they can imagine." With those words, I felt myself being drawn back toward my physical body. The last thing I heard before returning was Jesus saying, "Tell them I have not forgotten them. Tell them that their breakthrough is coming, at exactly the right time." When I awoke in the recovery room, the nurses were stunned. According to medical records, I had been clinically dead for 9 minutes and 12 seconds. The doctors called my recovery miraculous, with no signs of the brain damage they had feared. But I knew it wasn't just a medical miracle. I had been given a divine assignment to share these truths about why God's chosen ones often struggle financially. This testimony isn't meant to dismiss the very real pain of financial hardship. Instead, it's meant to infuse that pain with divine purpose. If you're struggling financially despite your faithfulness, know this: God hasn't forgotten you. He's preparing you. He's protecting you. He's purifying you for a purpose far greater than temporary prosperity. Your breakthrough is coming, not on your timetable, but on His. And when it arrives, you'll understand why the waiting was necessary. Until then, find your contentment in Christ, steward faithfully what you have, trust His timing, and remember that your current struggles are building eternal treasures that thieves cannot steal and rust cannot destroy. May this testimony bring you the same peace and understanding it has brought me. Though my financial situation hasn't magically transformed overnight, my perspective has been forever changed. I no longer see my struggles as punishment, but as preparation for a divine purpose that will unfold in God's perfect timing.